Hi everyone, Cendril here, and welcome to my E3 analysis and opinions of Sony's press conference. One of the things to make note beforehand with Sony, there weren't really any leaks. That was a big thing that happened this E3, even more than previous E3s. Like, it was really bad this year. A lot of leaks, like game leaks, game trailer leaks, things like that, and I'll be talking about that more later in kind of my final thoughts video that I'll be doing at the end of the analysis videos of the press conference. Sony started off their press conference with a live full orchestra. They were down in the pit in front of the stage, had the conductor come out, he took his bows, and it was a full orchestra complete with some members of choir as well. Like I say, a handful, maybe more, as well. And they started playing this just epic sounding piece with, it just had a lot of power behind it. And I'm just wondering, what is this to? And it was for God of War 4, which they just called God of War. And it was in a snowy place, and it showed what seemed to be an older Kratos. We don't know if this is actually Kratos, like, reborn, or, you know, an older Kratos. We don't know. They just showed off a little bit of kind of combat, and a few things that popped up that caught my eye was, one, the big thing was that there was this little kid, and this Kratos figure was looking after this kid. And was harsh. I mean, he's Kratos, right? If you know anything about God of War. But he kind of like had contained himself as well. So that was very interesting because he's teaching this kid. And he was harsh, but not cruel. Showed off some axe combat. The Kratos, I'm just going to call him Kratos. We don't know if it's actually Kratos or whatever. I already made that clear. But Kratos had an axe. And when he was fighting these demon things. I don't know exactly what they were. But the axe got a blue glow when he was like swinging at them. And that reminded me from the end of God of War 3. So that was interesting. I don't know if this is kind of a continuation of that storyline, how they're completely rebooting it. I don't know. They didn't show a lot. But there was some interaction between Kratos and this little kid. It's worth watching that if you're interested in the new God of War at all. You liked the God of War 1, 2, 3. You're interested in this reboot. You need to check that out because this dynamic between the kid and Kratos is interesting. I don't know if we're going to play as the kid at all, like growing up. What's the story going to be like? Don't know. They're just announcing, hey, God of War 4, which is going to be called God of War. The other thing that really interested me was when a few things happened, like the kid did something, it said knowledge gained. And a prompt popped up. And it said like plus 25 experience. There was this archery part, plus 50 for archery experience. So does that speak to some kind of skill tree again, kind of like what the red orbs were in God of War, but now there's going to be maybe skill trees that you get EXP for. Just something I pulled out and give you a little bit of analysis on that, maybe pointing at skill trees. So there was that. The opening was really long because they played quite a bit of this piece before they showed the trailer. I'm okay with that because I think it was super cool to have a live full orchestra. And that's not the only thing they did. They played music throughout the show for different games. And I thought that was really neat, just personally. So I really liked that. Then they showed a trailer for a new game called Days Gone. Looked like there was this protagonist who was a biker. People in hazmat suits and flamethrowers it showed off. It didn't show off any gameplay or anything like that. So it left a lot of questions. But at the end of the conference, they brought it back with a gameplay demo. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing they did, and we'll talk more about Days Gone later. After that, showed off a little bit of Last Guardian. which has actually got a release date. 5,000 years in the making. You know, I'm exaggerating, you know. But, what, 10? 10 years in the making? When Last Guardian was first announced? It's been a while. And I'm not exaggerating with the 10 years, I'm pretty sure. I think it's 10. Anyway, it's finally here, October 25th, 2016. That's really all they showed. They showed Last Guardian, showed like another animal that's there, that if you've seen Last Guardian, but there was another one, there were two, so is there like an evil one or something? I don't know. They just showed off Last Guardian. It's finally here, October 25th, 2016. After that, they showed off Horizon Zero Dawn, which sadly there was no release date for, because I am really excited for this game. It looked really good. They showed off gameplay. You play, I don't even know her name. There's just so much about this game I don't know, but I know they announced it last year, and here it is with some actual gameplay. You play this lady, as this lady, who goes hunting for like her tribe, and she's like leaving the tribe to go find out what's going on with the world. The best way I can say is it's got some Far Cry type vibes when it comes to like combat and things like that, and I mean that in the best possible way. Like the super good things about Far Cry. And she has a bow, and she went hunting. So she had a bunch of different type of arrows to choose from as well. So I believe you craft arrows, because there's a big crafting system just from looking at the menus when they briefly popped up. And took her bow, like took this special type of arrow. I think it was like armor piercing arrow, something like that, broadhead. Can't remember exactly what it was. And shot this animal. And she had dialogue as she was doing this. I was like, should I hunt that? You know, well, I need the supplies. So there was some voice, you know, some voices. She was like talking as she was doing stuff, and she shot the animal and it's like a part machine, part animal. That's how these things are. They're like, they have machine qualities, but they're like animals as well. And I couldn't tell what this one was, but it had like a shell. And she shot it, and the shell broke off, like the top part of the machine. And like it squealed out, you know, like in pain. It was really angry too. And she went over and quickly looted it, the shell that fell off, and took everything she could from it. And the time didn't freeze while she was doing that. And then it started attacking, and she like rolled out of the way after quickly grabbing everything. But not only did that one attack, it was like in a herd, and there were a couple of other ones, and they all started to attack. Which that's interesting, you know, like animal mentality. I thought that was really, really cool. That they all got angry when one of them got hit. Then she like took that and ran away, walked a little more, and met this NPC guy. Who was like, yeah, the village is, you know, completely done for. I'm running away. And then it was really quick. But a dialogue wheel popped up, like Mass Effect style. So you could like ask questions, give your answer. There was dialogue choices. That's really interesting. You know, is it going to be like Mass Effect, where if I answer right, I can get more information? You know, if I ask the right questions, can I get a better reward maybe? It was a like Mass Effect wheel style of dialogue choices. Very interesting. So she talked to this guy, told her, go to the village. He's like, you should come with me. You'll get slaughtered. It's like, no, I have to go try to save people that are in the village. Called her nuts, something like that. Basically, you're crazy. Runs away. The thing that really interested me, other than everything that I had seen so far, was the combat, which came up. You know, more than just shooting the bow. She had a way to scan enemies, and she could see their weaknesses. She also did this on the first, like, hunting, the crab thing, I guess it would be. Best thing I could think for it that I remember. And you can see where the weak points are. So that was cool. When you're switching weapons, time slows down. Time doesn't stop, but it slows down. Kind of if you've seen anything about the new Doom game that just recently came out by Bethesda, it and id Software, but it slows down when you're switching weapons. It's like that. And oh yeah, I forgot how she got to the village. I apologize. There was this she's it's going to take me too long to get to the village unless I get a mount. Well, there's some longhorn enemies over here. Okay, that's what they look like to me. They look like longhorn cattle. And she kind of snuck up to one and basically hacked it. Like she took I think it was the bow or it was something, stabbed it into like the forehead of the longhorn and like hacked it. It turned like a blue color instead of a red, and then she was able to mount this longhorn animal beast machine thing. Like that. That's really cool. How exactly did that work? Again, that's more lore, more story that we just don't have information of right now. But it was really neat. The other thing when she got into combat was she had these rope arrows. So she would shoot an arrow at an enemy and had like a rope, and then she would like nail it down with her bow, like a nail gun or something. Just it would stick to the ground, and it like actually like tied the enemy down, so she could stop it from moving, from escaping. And she did that to the machine animal longhorn thing too first, right before she hacked it. She like tied it down and then hacked it. So like that's a really neat thing. She showed off a couple of different arrows, like a fire arrow, like an armor piercing type arrow. And certain enemies are weak to certain things. And even though they just showed a few enemies, but it showed the scan, it's like this is weak to this. Just the gathering and crafting part of it, I just got those kind of Far Cry type vibes from it. And it just looked like it could be really good. I was really impressed with Horizon Zero Dawn. No release date yet. I'm interested to learn more about the story, what's going on, more about the weapons, the crafting. It just looked like, and I thought I saw some skills as well in the menus. Looks like there could be a lot there. And definitely a game to keep an eye on. After that, they showed off a game called Become Human. Detroit Become Human, excuse me. You play as an android called Connor. At least in this, what they showed we did. And he's a negotiator. He's not as cool as Roger Smith, but he is a negotiator. And reference that probably nobody's going to get. And you have to make choices, basically. It's like one of those choose-your-own-adventure type games is what it looked like, except on a AAA scale, or at least a bigger scale. And it showed this guy has this android that's kind of like gone off the rails, or just like, is tired or whatever, wants to end his life, is on the edge of a building with a human little girl. And it shows choices that you can make. Well, at the end of this little section, the android, I don't know what to call him, like the bad android with the girl as the hostage, jumped off the building, and Connor didn't reach the girl in time, and they both fell. Yeah, that's grim, right? Then it says, what if things were different? And it rewinds time. It like goes back to the beginning. And it shows Connor like finding clues. Like he finds blood. He finds a gun. And then it starts to play through the scenario again. Except you have the choice. You're making the choices here. And it said like, it was like X or circle. And you choose. And it showed that Connor had the gun. Because we picked up a gun now. And it's do you show the gun or do you hide it? Do you threaten with it or do you just fire? Do you disarm yourself if you show the gun? Do you disarm yourself? You're making all these choices, and it showed a bunch of different endings to this one scenario. In one ending, he jumps, but Connor manages to grab the girl in time. So just the bad android falls off the building and plummets to his death. In one, you negotiate and get the girl, you're the negotiator, and you actually negotiate and get him to release the girl. And then he gets fired at by a sniper from like SWAT, from like the police. Headshot and he's dead. In one of the scenarios, you get shot in the head. Not by the sniper, by the guy that has the girl hostage. And it just shows all of these different scenarios. So it's like one of those choose your own adventure things. Do you make the right choices? Do you have to live with your choices? Do you live or do you die because of your choices? And that's all they showed. I'm interested in this. Is this just one thing of like a really big story, and it's just going to be this big, like interactive, choose your own adventure game? I love those things. So if this is like those, like there's a lot of Flash games like that. Of you just choose your own adventure. Do you choose the right door? Do you find the right clues to help yourself out? If this is that, like on a big scale, like a AAA production scale for a game, I think it could be awesome. Some people were really put off by it. And it's like, this is not what we saw at all. I'm super interested. I'm interested. How much of the gameplay is this? Is this all of the game? Is this just a fraction of the game? And it becomes kind of like, what was that game? L.A. Noire, where, you made choices, but there was like a lot of gunplay and stuff like that as well. Is it kind of like that, where the choice part does matter, but there's like a lot more gameplay than that? I'm really interested in seeing more of Detroit become human. I want to see more from it. I'm really intrigued now because, I liked that gameplay that it showed. I thought that was really neat. And do you make the right decisions? Do you put things together well? Do you find the right clues? It had some of that L.A. Noire feel to that part of like finding the clues and putting together like maybe some questions or things that you're supposed to ask. It had that kind of feeling to it for me. What's the rest of the game? We don't know. That's all they showed. But personally, I'm really interested in seeing more from that. After that, the demo is already out because they were like, and the demo's out tonight. And I haven't downloaded it or anything yet. Comes out January 24th, 2017. Had a spooky game. They didn't say what the game was. You had a flashlight. It was super spooky. And it's Resident Evil 7. And it looks like they're going back to kind of the roots of Resident Evil and trying to be more spooky. They said it's VR compatible with the PlayStation VR headset. There is no way I'm ever doing that. That is too scary for me. If it's anything like what they showed in the trailer, and you have the headset on, and you're in that atmosphere with just the flashlight, and it's a dark house, and you're going through, and then a guy walks by, and you turn the corner, and he's not there anymore, and it's just spooky. Nope, not for this guy. Those of you that like spooky, this could be a VR game for you. Interested to seeing more. They didn't show very much at all of Resident Evil 7. But I'm interested to seeing what all is in the game. The atmosphere they set was they wanted to go back to kind of being more spooky. So maybe that's what it seemed like in that trailer, and maybe that's how the game will be. Speaking of PlayStation VR, theirs will come out October 13th, and that's what they talked about next. $400. They said that from when it comes out to the end of the year, there will be 50 games. Now, what does that mean? I'm not sure. Like 50 new games, 50 games that are compatible along with some new games. They were kind of vague on it. But they showed off a couple of other things. They showed off this game called Farpoint, and these will all be VR stuff until I say otherwise. Farpoint, which is a kind of look like a survival shooter, but it's VR. You look around. Battlefront X-Wing VR mission. You flying in an X-Wing in VR. That could be super cool. You know, that could be awesome. It just said VR mission, which is sad because that means just one, multiple. Do we get more? Like, I think flying in an X-Wing in VR could be really, really cool. And then the one that kind of just got everybody was you heard a familiar Clown Prince of Crime. And you owe it to yourself to hear everything that he says because he just says it so well. Because that's his character. Comes out October 12th. It's Batman Arkham VR. So it's a Batman game in VR. That could be really interesting. They didn't say anything more about that. I don't know how it would play. I don't know what it would do. But the Joker is the one that kind of introduces it and talks about the man, behind the mask, and you're going to be wearing. It's like their thing was wear the cowl because you're going to have like the VR headset on, so it'll be like wearing the cowl. It could be cool. I don't know what the gameplay is or anything, but it could be neat. They set it up really cool. They showed off a little bit of Final Fantasy 15 again. But they showed off that it's going to have a VR experience as well. It's a shooter. You'll be playing as, can't even remember his name, Promptlio, something like that. Anyway, he's the shooter of the group. He's the youngest of the four guys, and he uses like dual pistols. And it's you playing as him from the first-person point of view. So that could be neat. All right, that's the end of the VR stuff. Then we move on to a game. Of course we do, right? But it comes out the 4th of November, so November 4th this year. There was a guy walking along. He got into a fighter. Well, he chose like a mission, and everybody's like saying, that he's the captain. And there were like a whole bunch of planets for him to choose from. It's like all these things are going on. And he chose taking out this big spaceship dreadnought. And they're in a spaceship. And he gets into a space fighter. And flies around, it does a check. I'm thinking, oh man, is this like something for Star Citizen maybe? Has some Elite Dangerous vibes. Like, is this something from Elite Dangerous I haven't heard from yet? Maybe Eve? Something that I don't know, like some new space shooter. Like, I was really intrigued. It looked a little bit on rails. I don't know how much he was flying. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is something else. But it looked really cool. And then it went from the ship into a first-person shooter. I'm like, oh man, this is neat. And it had a grappling hook. Was able to like hook onto stuff. And that's how he kind of moved around a lot. Also had like a jetpack because he's completely in space. You're doing all this in space, so there's no gravity. And was able to like grapple hook a person, bring him to him, and beat him that way. Shoot some others in the distance like a first-person shooter, but was able to move around with a grappling hook. And I'm just blown away. I'm like, what is this game? This looks great. And then they went up to a window, and I saw the person's name, not the person that you're playing as, but like a person beside him, and they put a breach charge on the window. And that was when I realized, oh man, I'm looking at the new Call of Duty game. And I couldn't believe it. That's right, I was watching Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Comes out November 4th. But it didn't look like a Call of Duty game to me to start with. And that blew me away. I'm like, what am I watching right now? This is awesome. Because I'm kind of done with Call of Duty. I might rent this one, but I'm pretty much done buying Call of Duty games. I'm tired of Call of Duty games. And I was shocked. So I wasn't going to play this one at all. I might rent it now. Because it blew me away. I did not think I was watching a Call of Duty game until at that moment. I was like, wow, I'm watching Call of Duty, and it just didn't seem like Call of Duty to me. So kudos to them for that one. A couple of other cool things they showed off a riot shield, which I'm always a fan of, and gravity grenade. He threw the grenade, and then the enemies got sucked up into the gravity well, and he just shot them down. If you, I think it's for a limited time, if you pre-order Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, you get Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered for free. Comes with it. So that's the thing. That's neat. And in the words of price, we are leaving. And going to another remaster. Crash Bandicoot, Crash 2, and Crash Warp are all being remastered, which I didn't see coming. There were rumors of Crash being in Skylanders, which is true. He's going to be in the new Skylanders thing, and which is Skylanders Imaginators. I think I said that right. Basically, you get to make your own Skylander, which that's kind of cool. You take different pieces and make your own Skylander. But the remastered Crash games, that's neat. If you remember the old Crash games, they're being remastered. Be able to get those. They showed off Lego Star Wars Force Awakens. The Lego Star Wars games are always pretty funny to me. They follow the story, but they're Legos, so it's more I don't know. It's just more kid friendly, I guess, and just the jokes are really funny. Family friendly type jokes. I like the Lego Star Wars games. I think they're done extremely well, and just the set pieces are very, very well done to me. That comes out in 2 weeks, so if that interests you at all, that's in 2 weeks. Then it's we have to have this epic entrance for one person. Of course, it's Kojima. Why does Kojima get an epic entrance? Because he can. And that's it. That's it. He gets a super cool entrance that the floor, LEDs, shows up as he's walking down. He did it right. That's awesome. And, given his track record, he gets to have this epic entrance because he's Kojima. Now, speaking of him, he has a new game that he just showed off a trailer for, but saying, hey, I'm back, and I have a new game. And it's called Death Stranding. It still has, oh man, his name just left me. The guy that was in the PT trailer. Anyway, I believe it was him. Anyway, he has this star, and his name just leaves me right now, and I greatly apologize. But it was definitely a Kojima trailer, and I'm going to be really interested to see how this game turns out. Because this is the first game, it's his studio, his production, he's the boss. Period. He gets to do whatever he wants to with this game. And it will be interesting to see all the crazy ideas of Hideo Kojima put into a game. What are we going to get? I don't know. But I'm sure whatever it is, it's going to be epic in its own right. So, look out for that. Probably next year, we'll get to see some gameplay and stuff. Maybe sooner. But it's called Death Stranding. And it was just a trailer. Didn't get to see, very much. Or got to see a lot because the protagonist is naked. So, none of the front, but you get to see the back. So there's that. Just putting that out there too, just in case you go and see it. You want to go see the trailer. After that, there was just a quick, not a quick mention, but just kind of a trailer of its own right of a new Spider-Man game, and it's being done by Insomniac Games. The most recent thing they can do of that I could think of is Sunset Overdrive, which was a ton of fun to play. You move around a lot. Hey, what does Spidey do? Swing and move around a lot. So this seems like a really good pairing. It really does. I think this could be This could be a really good game. That's all they showed. No date, no nothing, no gameplay. So this is probably really early in the making. Look for it months and months down the line to see even just a little bit about it. But know that Insomniac Games is working on a Spider-Man game. And I'm okay with that. Alright. Circle back around from earlier in the show. They decided to bring back Days Gone. Just now, at the end of the show. Bring it back, show off some gameplay. So your main protagonist guy rides a bike. He searched a chest. So it looked like it had a loot system of some kind. Looking for bullets or stuff like that. Looked like a third-person shooter. Zombies. There's lots of zombies, by the way. He makes like a makeshift silencer from like a truck filter. It's what it looked like to me. It made like a makeshift silencer for the pistol that he was using. I was like, okay. Then he fought some kind of zombie, but it kind of reminded me of Golem. Like that's what it looked like Golem from like Lord of the Rings. Like pounced on him and he like fought him off. He was chasing after this guy. I don't know what to make of this game because then it they make too much noise, or like the guy made too much noise that he was chasing, and zombies start chasing after you. So he goes and kind of escapes, and this train door opens, and zombies are, they kind of climbed up onto this train car that he slid underneath, opened the door, and there is literally a wave of zombies coming at him. And he has an assault rifle, and he just mows them down as best he can. There are more zombies than he has probably bullets, but more than he can fire anyway right now, so he runs. And then there's more zombies. I'm talking a lot of zombies. Like coming in through windows of this house he goes into, this barn, and spill through the windows and stuff trying to get him. He unloads another clip or two. I cannot kill that fast, so he runs. Then there's lots more zombies. I'm talking lots and lots more. And this is the theme that I got. There was just an overwhelming number of zombies. And that's how they showed off this Days Gone game. Looked interesting enough. I want to know a lot more before I can say anything about it. I mean, this is, new thing that they just brought up at this E3. I hadn't heard of it. And had this gameplay demo. I don't know what to expect from this game at all, other than lots of zombies. Lots and lots of zombies. So that's what I got. And then to finish up the Sony press conference, they did the typical Sony thing. I'm gonna quote the former VP of all their ads, and 2 words: montage. So I know it's not 2 words. If you saw the commercials, you get it. And if you don't, they basically just did a montage of all the games that they're working on, that they, have in the arsenal or whatever. Just quickly montage them, and that's how they ended the press conference. A lot of people praise Sony as they had the best, at the end of Monday, that they had the best presser. They had the best conference of E3 out of everybody. And maybe I agree with that, maybe I don't. The thing I can say is Sony did what I expect at E3, what I want from E3, which is they just said a bunch of games. Just game. One right after the other. No, other than the live full orchestra to start, which is super cool and awesome in its own right, and then they went into God of War. After that, they just showed off game after game after game. Whether it was gameplay, whether it was a trailer, whether, it was announcing VR stuff. I mean, it was just game. Gave dates where they could. Didn't give dates, if they didn't have one. And there was no fluff in the middle of any of this. That's what I want. Now, some of the games, sadly, didn't have that much information. It was just dates. And I understand they wanted to just pack a bunch of games. Some of the games I wish I got to know a little more about. But I really am impressed with what Sony did with their press conference and just fired off the games. Just kept going. And I liked that. However, we're not quite done. There was one more press conference. Even though they weren't at E3, they had an E3 press conference anyway. And that would be Nintendo, who didn't have hardly anything to say, but at the same time said a lot about the one thing they really wanted to show off. If you don't know what happened at Nintendo, tune into my E3 analysis and opinions, which will be the next video. Until then, thank you very much for watching, listening. If you enjoyed my analysis of the Sony press conference, or you just enjoyed, hearing my opinions and break down the things that I saw, please click the like button. Let me know that you liked it that way, and you can also leave a comment. And that way I'll be more inclined to do more things like this in the future. Until Nintendo's video, I'm Cendril89. Remember to shoot for the stars and take care, everyone.